unspeakable Milo Binder. His new self-titled album, produced by the indefatigable Willie Aaron of The Balancing Act, The Holy Brothers, and The Third Mind, is available right now. If you like John Prine, Jonathan Richman, and Tom T. Hall more than Ed Sheeran, then this one's definitely for you. The Unspeakable Milo Binder, available on Heyday Again Records at realgonemusic.com. Future Prophet Records is at it again, filling the charts with all the greatest hits from another dimension, a dimension where great music rules the airwaves like it used to in this one. Swear Tapes presents Crooked Teeth, available right now on Future Prophet Records. That's Future, Prophet Records.com. Order now. So Arthur's checking you guys out, and there's a couple of meetings where you guys sniff each other's butts at David Green's Baldwin Hills home studio, right?
Right. He came over to Dave Green's and we jammed. We did like 5 songs, like Orange Skies, 7-7 Is, Sign DC. And then the best part was that he turns to Dave Green and he goes, "You got any mics hidden here? I don't want you bootlegging my shit."
Did that hit you as a red flag then or later on?
I wish we had recorded it. I wish we had one.
Okay, if you want to talk about red flags, there were a few red flags before that happened.
Welcome to Discograffiti, the deep dive podcast for music obsessives that gives maniacs like you and me the chance to connect with a brotherhood obsessed with rating the entire discography of every single artist and band that ever mattered. I'm your host, Dave Gebroe, and when I was a kid, I thought I loved music. But no, that was only the beginning. I almost lost my life, and in the process, it made music a top priority in a way I'd thought was completely unimaginable. I quit my job, went all in on Discograffiti, and never looked back. And so, with 3 new episodes each week, you're going to gain a comprehensive knowledge of an act's history and output in the time it takes to listen to one album. Each new guest swings a hard left into an area you either had no idea you needed to know about, or know all about and can't believe you're not alone out there. And in this episode, we'll be turning our spray cans on love! This episode is part of a series called 7 and 7 and 7 Is, the definitive 21-episode story of Arthur Lee and love, which I've consciously crafted to act as the ultimate repository of fact and opinion on one of the greatest bands to ever walk the face of the earth, the almighty Love. It includes 13 episodes heralding the return of Discograffiti host OG Joe Kennedy, 6 episodes from a 4.5-hour interview with OG Love mainstay Johnny Echols, and 2 episodes from a 2.5-hour interview with the members of Baby Lemonade, who've served as Love now for coming up on 35 years. This is part 19, a raw, honest interview with Mike Randle, Rusty Squeezebox, and David Green, 3/4 of the band Baby Lemonade, who've effectively acted as Love now for over 30 years. Here are just a few of the many things that Baby Lemonade discusses with Discograffiti in this podcast. Just how deep their love ran for Love's music previous to crossing paths with Arthur Lee, what they were on track to accomplish before being swallowed up by Arthur to become the new iteration of Love, their big break moment, how Baby Lemonade compared to the other members of Love who floated in and out over the years, the various red flags that piled up over time and how they dealt with them, and their collective assessment of their recorded legacy as Love. Coming up, we've got incredible deep dive series on Jefferson Airplane with special guests Jack Cassidy, Jorma Kaukonen, China Kantner, and David Freiberg, Quicksilver Messenger Service with Lenny Kaye and David Freiberg again, and a hell of a lot more. So don't miss out. Open up your listening app right now and subscribe. And away we go then! Today's guests are a band of brothers who've had quite the unpredictable journey. Baby Lemonade is a pop psych band formed in Santa Monica in the fall of 1992 by a couple of zealous record store clerks on a mission from God. Mike Randle and Rusty Squeezebox, nay David Ramsey, previously in LA band Bad Press, added David Green and Henry Lou, soon replaced by David Chappell, and by the following year, they'd found the Wonka bar with the golden ticket in it, as they were scooped up by Arthur Lee of Love and utilized as the most competent, inspired iteration of Love that we'd seen since the 60s. They're also the most stable Love lineup in the band's history by a long shot. When the man was tossed in the slammer for 6 years, someone had to pump out the tunes, so these guys stepped right up to the plate, releasing 3 albums and 2 solo LPs during that gap. When life gave them lemons, these guys made Baby Lemonade. Upon Arthur Lee's release from 2002 to 2005, they saw it as their civic duty to traipse around the planet, being feted wherever they went. Since Arthur's passing in 2006, they wisely threw their lot in with one of the nicest and most well-adjusted men who's ever dared to call himself a friend of Arthur Lee, Johnny Echols, the Love OG, who's currently fronting the newfangled outfit. They've performed with Marianne Faithfull, Alex Chilton, Robin Hitchcock, Peter Murphy, Russell Mael, Jarvis Cocker, Badly Drawn Boy, Beth Orton, and The Residents. A compilation CD, Best of Baby Lemonade, was released in 2008. They continued to perform as Baby Lemonade while also touring with Johnny Echols as Love Revisited or The Love Band. They're the psych purveyors of yesteryear's dreams, like the wonderments building up Brian's self-esteem. First Arthur Lee and then Johnny Echols. Idolatry from what was once club gig heckles. Lads and ladies, it's David Green on the skins, and on guitar and vocals, both Rusty Squeezebox, nay David Ramsey, and Mike Randle.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was incredible. Thank you.
That was fantastic.
May I add something?
Yes, please.
I was with Henry Lou yesterday, and Henry Lou was in the group when we played with Arthur. So for the first year and a half, Henry was the bass player, and then Dave Chappell came in.
Right. You know, I know he was a kind of crucial part of when things got underway. Mm-hmm. You know, before we actually get going, I want to say, and something I kind of touched on very briefly before we got going here, is that this series has ballooned in ambition from an initial 6-episode concept because of my expansive passion for this band, which is something I'm sure you three know plenty about. Especially because I feel like with all of the adulation that the discography has been accorded, really, I believe it's been, if anything, been given a disservice. I think that there's an overabundance of focus given to Forever Changes and less so on the full story of, you know, what it was that Love provided over the years.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And one of the things with that, I think, is the band, they did peak at Forever Changes. And, you know, right after that, it completely frazzled. You know, none of the members besides Arthur really did that much after that. And I remember, you know, when I was growing up, I had never, ever heard of this band at all. You know, now we have the internet and people buying vinyl and everything, you know, and people can read about this stuff. So the kids are picking it up now. But it was by chance that I had heard about this band, you know. So a lot of people just never knew.
Yeah. Actually, before we get going here, why don't you guys introduce yourselves? Because really, this is a clusterfuck. We have 3 Daves and a Mike. One Dave going under a nom de plume, knowing that he'd get into some interview situations with an overabundance of Daves at some point. So maybe you guys can just take the mic, each of you, and just so people can get to familiarize themselves with your voices.
I'm Mike Randle. I play guitar, a lot of 12-string electric guitar, and Love with Johnny Echols.
I'm Rusty Squeezebox. I sing lead and I play rhythm guitar with Love with Johnny Echols.
I'm Dave Green, often called Daddy O'Green. I haven't been able to shake that nickname in several decades. I'm the drummer.
And Arthur has said, I've seen musicians come and go, but the band I'm working with now reminds me of my first love band, only without the drugs. So obviously, Arthur almost always had some kind of relationship with drugs at almost every point in his life. I'm sure you guys weren't straight edge, but were you guys completely divorced from any kind of drug intake, even smoking weed?
No, we partook. But I mean, we didn't, there was no like cocaine or, like heavy stuff.
And no one had any problems.
And no one had any problems. Yeah, no one had any problems. And, I guess I was trying to skirt around that earlier. But, a lot of the other musicians that he played with they needed $50 to get high.
Right.
That was a thing. And that wasn't the thing with us. We didn't have that issue. And like Dave was saying earlier, we sat and worked on that stuff.
Yeah.
And that was the big difference. We had it together on our own. We could play back then without Arthur if we had to. We knew those songs.
And with interviews with other musicians, they would talk about rehearsals, and it was basically maybe 2 songs being played. Otherwise, it was just an excuse to get high and drink.
Yeah.
Well, so Arthur would, at the beginning, he would describe us as green as a pool table and twice as square.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably what Love needed all those years, honestly, because there's not that many bands, especially with as large a catalog as Love has, given the drug intake, where you're talking about a band that's legendary for heroin use and shooting cocaine. Bands that, you're talking about that kind of drug lifestyle, you're usually talking maybe 2-3 records tops before something terrible happens.
Yeah.
So to enter into that and be squares, that's like a sitcom idea almost. So tell me about the situation with Henry Lou and how you guys see it now all these years later. This is like only a few months into you guys basically being the new Love, right? All right, that about does it. To hear the full episode, just visit patreon.com/discograffiti and either subscribe as a private or higher, or just purchase it as a one-off. If you are a fan of the show, please do one of those 2 to help ensure Discograffiti's continued existence. For over 4 years now, Discograffiti's Friday episodes have been completely free, and it's been my pleasure. But for a variety of reasons, Discograffiti's now moved to the subscription-based Patreon as our primary platform. Moving forward, our public stream will feature a teaser of the Friday episode and a Tuesday teaser of the bonus episode, and that's all. But here's the good news. Only $5 a month will get you the weekly Friday podcast to which you become accustomed. That's it. It's a no-brainer at just $1 an episode. And just that little bit will be what's required to help the show survive. To sweeten the pot, you'll also get regular installments of the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast. That's Rudy Fishman's podcast within a podcast featuring our Patreon members as guests. You'll also get access to over 100 back episodes of that show. The $10 Lieutenant tier gets you all that, plus access to half of the Patreon archive. That's hundreds of additional episodes, plus copies of my personal show notes, which include invaluable research, star ratings, and reviews. But the $20 major tier is the place to be, unless you can support the show on even higher tiers, which, if you can afford it, offers substantial perks, including advertising on the show and selecting the guests and artists I cover. With the major tier and above, you get it all. The Monday bonus episodes, aka the best stuff, the Friday show, the Soldiers of Sound podcast, plus access to the entire archive. That's many hundreds of Patreon episodes, an absolutely endless barrage of music entertainment, including 50 episodes of The Private Press with Paul Major, Rock Cousteau, Queasy Listening, and so much more. So support the podcast that's been supporting you for years. Discograffiti's calling, and it needs you, so don't risk feeling guilty by not giving. But enough of me yapping. Go on, subscribe now. Visit patreon.com/discograffiti and find the tier that's right for you. Stay tuned, because next week brings upon us the 7th installment of Feed Your Head, the Great Jefferson Airplane Deep Dive, in which Jefferson Airplane's bassist and myself go track for track on one of the greatest albums of all time. It's Jack Cassidy on Surrealistic Pillow. Okay, here's the week up ahead. This Sunday, our weekly show within a show, the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast, drops for our Patreon's private tier. These are real people with talent and a burning fire deep inside, just like you and I. Then come Monday, the major tier gets a very special treat. Monday's bonus episode is part 20 of our love series. It's the action-packed conclusion of our brutally honest interview with Baby Lemonade's Mike Randle, Rusty Squeezebox, and David Green about what really happened at the end of the line between these guys and Arthur. You're not going to want to miss it. There'll be a very short sneak peek running publicly for free on Tuesday morning, but the entirety of the show will only be accessible on the major tier of our Patreon. A heartfelt Discograffiti thanks goes out to my beautiful son, Mason, Joe Kennedy, Willie Aaron, Johnny Echols, Mike Randle, Rusty Squeezebox, David Green, Trace Marshall, Rudy Fishman, Becky Boyd, my mom, my dad, my incredibly loyal fans, and especially the entire Patreon community, the Soldiers of Sound. I love every last one of you, and this show would not exist without you, my friends. Speaking of friends, it's high time for some new ones. They're in our Facebook group, Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound. That's the best way to find out what's coming up on the show, but there's a hell of a lot more. You get recaps of the day in music history, the ability to pitch questions to guests, polls that put you in the driver's seat on guest and band decisions, and access to a thriving creative hub if you're looking for a collaborator. So make sure you don't miss out. You can find the link to the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound Facebook page right there in the show notes. And if you don't mess with the Zuck, no sweat. Just email me at info@discograffiti.com and I'll keep you in the loop. So now that it's done and you want more, another way to dive even deeper into the amniotically dark and cozy psychedelic underworld of the 60s and 70s is to leap headfirst into our Spirit series. That's episodes 241 to 249. The Lenny Waronker interview, that's 244 and 245. Our ongoing Graham Nash interview in which he talks about everything he's ever done. Our 13-episode Moby Grape series featuring interviews with Peter Lewis, Don Stevenson, and Bob Mosley. That's episodes 208 to 214. The Beatles' Pete Best. That's episode 188. Our free design interview with all the Dedrick siblings. That's 160 to 162. Our Mamas and Papas series featuring my 16-hour Michelle Phillips interview, which she says is the best interview she's ever done. That's episodes 141 to 159. My 13-hour interview with Terry Kirkman and Jules Alexander about everything the association ever did. That's 109 to 113. My interview with Vashti Bunyan about her life and everything she's ever recorded, that's 103 to 104. My interview with Os Mutants Sergio Diaz, that's 86 and 87. Lou Barlow on the Zombies, that's 59 and 60. Foxygen's Jonathan Rado on Todd Rundgren, that's 37 and 40. Anthony Fantano on the Velvet Underground, that's 32 and 33. Bob Forrest on the band, that's 25 and 27. Andrew Sandoval on the Monkees, that's 22 and 23. Don Randy on David Axelrod, that's episode 17. And Pink Floyd is 1 and 2. And of course, be sure to mark your calendars, because next Friday, June 19th, we're coming at you with Jack Cassidy going track for track with me on one of the great classics of all time, Jefferson Airplane's Surrealistic Pillow. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. And so, from now till then, don't let our youth go to waste, lads and ladies. It's Discograffiti!